You keep hedging your bets, and that's exactly why nothing moves. You ask for the thing you want, then quietly prepare for the version where it doesn't arrive. 1 foot in the wish, 1 foot in the doubt. By the end of these few minutes, you'll understand why that split is the only thing standing between you and the result you've been begging for. There's an old story about a man who stood alone on a mountain and refused to keep 1 foot anywhere. His name was Elijah. The whole kingdom had drifted into a kind of spiritual fence-sitting, worshipping the new God on the good days and the old one on the bad days, covering every angle, committing to none. Sound familiar? It should. That fence is where most prayers go to die. So Elijah climbs Mount Carmel and throws down something almost rude in its simplicity. He gathers the people and asks them one question: how long will you waver between two opinions? That's the whole disease, named in a single sentence: wavering. The mind that keeps a backup plan running in the background, draining the very power it's trying to use. Picture the setup he proposes. 2 altars, 2 offerings, 1 rule: the God who answers by fire is the real one. The crowd of opposing prophets goes first, hundreds of them, and they have every advantage. Numbers, volume, hours of daylight. They dance, they shout, they cut themselves until the blood runs, and they do it all day. Nothing. Not a spark. Why does the spectacle fail? Volume isn't conviction. You can repeat an affirmation 10,000 times and still believe underneath that it won't work. The prophets were loud precisely because they were unsure. Desperation is just doubt turned up to full volume. And the silence that answered them is the same silence you've heard after months of trying to force a feeling you didn't actually hold. Now watch what Elijah does, because this is where the principle lives. He takes his time. He rebuilds the broken altar stone by stone, 12 of them, slow and deliberate. Then he does something that looks insane. He calls for water. Not a sprinkle. He drowns the offering. Once, twice, a third time, until the wood is soaked through and a trench around the altar fills like a small moat. He is removing his own backup plan in front of everyone. Think about what that water means. Dry wood could always catch by some natural accident, a stray ember, the heat of the day. By soaking it, Elijah cuts off every escape route. He makes a result by ordinary means impossible. He stakes everything on the single assumption that the fire will come from one source and one source only. No hedge. No, but maybe. One unbroken claim. That's the move you've been refusing to make. You want the new job, but you keep your resume out for the safety of the old direction. You want the relationship healed, yet you rehearse the breakup speech at night, just in case. You're soaking your offering in the wrong water, the water of contingency, and then wondering why no fire falls. Every backup plan you build is a vote against the thing you say you want. Here's a question that should sting a little. What would your life look like if you poured water on your escape routes instead of guarding them? Watch Elijah's prayer, because it's almost shockingly short. The opposing prophets screamed for hours. Elijah speaks maybe 30 seconds. He doesn't beg. He doesn't repeat himself. He speaks as a man stating a fact that has already been decided somewhere deeper than the visible scene. And the fire falls. It consumes the offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and even licks up the water in the trench. Total, immediate, complete. Notice the timing. The result came fast. The moment the assumption was held without competition, the visible world rearranged itself to match. That speed is the signature of what happens when a state is occupied fully instead of sampled cautiously. This is the law underneath the miracle. Your outer world is fire waiting for an altar. It can only mirror the assumption you actually live from, the one running when you're too busy to perform belief. A divided assumption produces a divided result, which usually looks like nothing at all. So why does total commitment produce immediate results, while hedging produces delay? The delay was never out there. The delay is the time you spend rebuilding the bridge back to the old state. Every time you revisit the doubt, you reset the clock. You pour fresh water on dry wood, then complain the fire is late. Look closer at the order of events on that mountain. The water came before the fire. Elijah increased the apparent impossibility right before the breakthrough. And that order is the whole secret. The hardest moment, the soaking, sat directly next to the easiest, the falling of the fire. People expect ease to signal that they're on the right path. The mountain teaches the opposite. The point of maximum unreasonableness is often the last step before the result. You feel this in your own life every time things get strange right before they shift. The deal goes quiet. The person pulls away. The path you assumed would open seems to slam. That's the water going on the altar. Most people read it as a sign to grab the backup plan, and they pour their faith out at the exact moment it was about to catch. Stay on the wet altar. The fire is closer than the dryness suggests. Let me name the hard part, the part the motivational version always skips. Living in one assumption is uncomfortable. It feels like lying when you assume the thing is already done and your senses scream that it isn't. There's a gap, and that gap is where almost everyone runs back to the backup plan for relief. The crowd on that mountain wanted relief too. They wanted to keep both gods so they'd never have to feel the terror of betting on one. Real conviction is a warm feeling for almost no one. It's a discipline of refusal, the refusal to consult the evidence of the moment as if it were the verdict. Elijah didn't soak the altar because he felt confident. He soaked it to make confidence the only option left standing. You can do the same with your mind. It's called a mental diet, and it's far less poetic than it sounds. It means catching the thought that whispers, "But what if it doesn't?" and declining to feed it. You stop arguing with it. You stop stacking 10 affirmations on top of it. You simply refuse it the water it asks for and return again to the single assumption that your wish is already fulfilled. Try this tonight. Pick one thing. One. Then ask yourself where you've been hedging it. Find the backup plan you keep warm in the dark, the contingency you call being realistic. That's your trench full of water poured the wrong way. Drain it. Decide what you'd think, how you'd carry yourself, what you'd stop checking if the result were already certain. Then live from that, even while the wood looks wet. The discomfort you feel doing this is the proof it's working. That tension is the gap between your old state and your new one closing. Sit inside it instead of escaping it. The crowd ran from that feeling for years and got silence for years. Elijah sat in it for 30 seconds, and the sky opened, and noticed something easy to miss. Elijah didn't make the fire. He couldn't. No human can manufacture the response of the unseen. His only job was to build the altar, remove the alternatives, and assume. The fire was always the fire's department. Yours too. Your job is to occupy the state and stop sabotaging it. The how, the chain of events, the means by which it arrives, that belongs to a power far more resourceful than your planning mind. This is the quiet arrogance of the hedging mind. When you keep a backup plan, you're secretly insisting you must arrange the outcome yourself because deep down you suspect the assumption alone is too weak. The water you pour is really a confession. It says, "I'll believe, but only if I also control the exits." Drop the exits. That's the whole teaching. Compressed, there's a strange freedom waiting on the other side of that. The moment you stop managing the exits, your energy stops leaking. All the effort you spent guarding the bridge back to the old life becomes available for living the new one. You walk lighter. You sleep deeper. The constant low hum of what if it fails goes quiet because you've already decided the question is closed. There's one more layer, and it's the one that turns this from a trick into a way of living. Elijah could do this because he'd already decided who he was before he climbed the mountain. He assumed he already was a man whose God answers by fire, and he acted from that settled identity. The challenge was an expression of an identity he'd stopped negotiating. That's the difference between wanting and assuming. Wanting reaches across a distance towards something absent. Assuming closes the distance and lives as if it's already here. One keeps the gap open forever, the other collapses it, and the visible world has to catch up. So, look at your own mountain, the thing you've been wavering over for months, maybe years. You've been the loud prophet, performing belief, exhausting yourself, cutting yourself on your own effort, and getting silence. The problem was that you tried with one foot out the door the entire time. Today, you get to be the other man, quiet, unhurried, soaking the altar in full view of your own fear, stating your claim once, plainly, like someone reporting weather that's already arrived. Then you wait, the way you wait for a sunrise you have no doubt is coming. The people on Carmel had wavered for a generation. It took one act of total commitment, lasting less than a minute, to end it. Your years of wavering can end the same way, the moment you stop keeping a God in reserve. Pour out the water you've been saving, like no match of your own. Make your single claim, then stand on the soaked altar of your own life, and dare the silence to stay silent.